As far as political developments in local and international politics concerned, let's just throw a few examples out to you. Joe Biden sworn in as the US president. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni re-elected for a sixth term in office. Zambian opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema finally unseated Edgar Lungu. And for more on politics this year, such fun, always joined by international relations expert Oscar van Heerden. Hello to you, Oscar. Always good to have you with us. A merry belated Christmas to you and yours. So you pick up a notepad for the year. You write down one political event that stands out for you. What's in big caps at the top of your page?
Good morning, Gareth. Well, the big event for 2021, besides the unfortunate death of an icon such as Archbishop Desmond Tutu, it must be the July protests. I think that stands out for me as a big red flag. It speaks to the lack of equality. It speaks to poverty levels within the country. It speaks to the rule of law. It's a big event that happened, and the manner in which the government dealt with that particular protest and looting is a matter of concern.
Someone argued, though, Oscar, it was a case of actually the government not handling the situation at all. In fact, it was far too late before they actually jumped on, and critics say did what they were actually supposed to be doing.
Indeed, the lack of how they dealt with that crisis. We saw absolutely no action from the South African Police Service. Many saying that there was an intelligence failure. How could we not have seen this? Of course, at the back of this, I do want to say there has been a positive, Gareth, and that is that what caused the riots, what caused the looting, was a very historical thing in 2021, where South Africa and the independent judiciary was saying to the nation that in our constitutional democracy, no one is above the law, not even a former president, and the arrest of Jacob Zuma was a very significant event in 2021.
What do you see the ramifications of that being going into 2022 as well? Because we like to look back on the year, Oscar, that was 2021, but especially the arrest of the former president, that's not going to vanish come New Year's Eve. That's a story you're going to watch very carefully going into the new year. What kind of ramifications do you see that having for next year?
Well, the thing is that, you know, the constitutional democracy that we live in is strong. The independence of the judiciary has been unshaken, and the High Court has found that the medical parole of the former president has not been within the framework of the law, and hence he has to return to incarceration. I think the new year, the ramifications is going to be further splits within the ANC as a political party. We see all manner of developments happening in KZN, the home province of the former president, and that, of course, will be having a bearing on the upcoming policy conference of the ANC in the middle of next year, of the new year, as well as the elective conference in December 2022, where I suspect President Cyril Ramaphosa would want to seek a second term. So a lot of ramifications, but I'm sure that at the end of the day, the ANC is going to be able to manage this crisis.
I imagine as well, as you mentioned, the ANC, if they were to hang a Christmas stocking at the chimney of Luthuli House, they would have wished from Santa a few more voters in the local government elections.
Not only a few more voters, as you know, Gareth, they would also have been wishing to have some money to pay their employees, which is a dire situation. As a governing party, it's a serious indictment of employees of the ANC not being able to put food on the table over these festive days. And that is a serious thing. We see now that the president had to come to the party personally, having made a contribution towards paying the staff and keeping the lights on at the head office, Luthuli House. So they would have wanted to wish for a little bit more than just votes. But yes, they suffered a significant blow in the local government elections, dipping below 50% for the first time. And I think it's not only the governing party. I think we need to, as political parties in South Africa, including opposition parties whose support went down in this local government elections, we need to ask the question, what is it that we are not doing right? And what is it that the message is from our electorate, from the people that are voting, deciding to stay at home now?
If we take a look at the international side of things, Oscar, if you don't mind for the moment, I sort of threw three examples out that I think stood out. Joe Biden, what was happening in Uganda, what was happening in Zambia as well. Of the examples I gave you, my personal one that stands out from Africa is Museveni getting into office for a sixth term as well. A lot of critics suggesting this is just not how Africa needs to grow as a democratic continent. What did you make of that? And do you agree that's the standout moment in Africa, or do you have another one you'd like to throw into the ring?
No, besides, of course, we can't ignore the COVID pandemic that's still ongoing within the continent. But I agree with you, a complete abuse of democracy. In fact, I don't even know if we can call it a democracy. It's just pathetic that we have a person who simply refuses to step aside, to give democracy a chance and give others a chance to lead that country. And Museveni, as you know, you say a sixth time. I remember even during the Mbeki administration here in South Africa, when Sam Njoma from Namibia toyed with the idea of possibly going for a third term, the president, our own president, took the opportunity to remind him that it would not be a good idea for the democracy in Namibia. And generally, we see what's happening in Swaziland and the struggles with the monarchy there. There is just not any more room for democracy being suffocated in the way it's happening in Uganda. And I think that the people at some point is going to revolt.
Can we come a little further south as far as Africa is concerned as well? A lot of attention paid for what I thought was a very small moment in time, Oscar, to the insurgency in northern Mozambique, Cabo Delgado. And it's still ongoing. We know there were skirmishes with SANDF as well, but that seemed to vanish quite quickly. How do you feel about that threat, in northern Mozambique, and how much more attention should we be paying here in South Africa? Because it kind of slid off the front pages of the newspapers, didn't it?
Well, as you know, Gareth, we are directly affected. Some of our own citizens have been caught up in the crossfire in that crisis and skirmish. I don't think we should take it lightly at all. I think that it is high on the radar of both the security establishment and the intelligence services. You know that, for example, Portugal and others, the French, are all involved. The Americans are also now getting involved in trying to contain that particular crisis. So I think as South Africa, we shouldn't take the matter lightly. It does pose some threats, not only in that part of the country and the border, but also the fact that if we turn a blind eye, it could very well be that we face a bigger problem within our own borders. And so I think we should keep an eye on that. And of course, on the international front, we also shouldn't forget that there is the standoff that's happening between Russia and Europe, as well as Russia and the United States. And that in itself has implications going into the new year as well.
You took the words out of my mouth. That was actually going to be my last question to you. I was going to move over to what was happening between Russia, Ukraine, Russia, Europe, and, of course, Joe Biden. I'm pretty sure that Twitter was very happy there was a change of presidency in the White House as well. Your take on Joe Biden since coming into office and, of course, this interplay now between Russia, Ukraine, and the U.S. What is the play on this as well? Because everyone has to be very careful how they handle Russia, because almost like a bit of a dark enigma in world politics, you don't quite know what Vladimir Putin is capable of doing. He holds his cards very close to his chest, doesn't he?
No, absolutely. And the truth of the matter is that we're dealing with a very different Russia from post-1990, when Gorbachev opened up the country with the fall of the Berlin Wall, Yeltsin running the country into the ground in terms of oligarchs taking over. Putin has really gotten the support of the ordinary Russians in Russia, having brought the country back to its former glory, having a very capable state. And of course, the fact that Russia provides significant gas to Europe in terms of their energy mix does speak volumes in terms of the geostrategic nature of this crisis. And so you're right. Biden and Biden's administration has to tread very lightly in terms of how they are going to actually deal with Russia. Russia is basically saying that the encroachment of NATO on its eastern and western borders is unacceptable. It's drawing a line in the sand, and it's saying hands off some of the countries that are very close to us, in particular, these countries like Ukraine and others. Of course, with the Biden administration, Gareth, a difficult one coming out of a Trump administration. He has lots to repair, very much like our own situation where, Ramaphosa will have to do and has lots to repair post the Zuma administration. But I think that for now, the USA is yet again the darling of the world. Biden is beginning to make some inroads, but it's going to be a difficult year ahead.
Yeah, some people suggesting his first term is going to be repairing the damage of the Trump administration. But always such a pleasure to have you with us. I always enjoy talking to you, Oscar van Heerden, international relations expert. We could talk all day about what is happening with Russia and Europe, but we'll leave it there for the moment. Almost 6:45.